Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
One thing you have to remember about this conference is it was mostly organised before Jeremy Corbyn actually became leader. Who knows how it would have been if it was all set up in his own mould. Well, today was John McDonnell's day, but tomorrow it's the new leader who gets to dominate. The Labour Party have released some pictures tonight, actually, of Jeremy Corbyn working away at his speech, proudly sporting a pair of sandals, Corbyn chic at its best, the kind of accessory that would presumably have got Ed Miliband very unfavourable headlines in the tabloids for days. Well, our political editor, Allegra, as I say, is with me. Allegra, what is Jeremy Corbyn going to say tomorrow?
Well, it's a big moment for him, because for all the hue and cry around his leadership over the possibility of his leadership over the summer months, actually tomorrow, the leader's speech and the news packages that will be going out tomorrow evening is one of the big moments he gets to actually talk directly to the British public. So we understand we've been given some language. He's going to talk about wanting a kinder politics and a more caring society. Who could disagree with that? And then there's one phrase that I like. It's because I'm driven by these British majority values, because I love this country, that I want to rid it of injustice. Now, this from the man who so famously didn't sing the national anthem. But what I think he's doing here is casting his well-known left-wing project, how he wants to change the country, in language that Middle England,
Patriotism.
horrible phrase,
yeah.
may better like.
Allegra, my general impression is it's going pretty well for them. Is that the Corbyn-led Labour Party? You disagree,
Yes.
Do you?
I think that he talks in the speech tomorrow. We're told we've got all this language. One thing that he's not deviating from, they're pre-releasing bits of this speech. So we're told in this speech that he'll say, "I'm not going to have a monopoly on leadership. I'm not getting some, I will allow debate. I'll allow division," and that's all very well and good. But to my mind, talking to lots of people today, it's not actually been clear. Yes, there's been lots of debate. Yes, lots of division. I'm not actually clear which of these fights Jeremy Corbyn himself has won, and that's what we took a look at today.
The mods and the rockers.
Two tribes at war. 50 years ago, mods and rockers at each other's throats. About hair, about music, leathers versus sharp suits, motorbikes versus scooters. For just not being each other, they hurled deck chairs at each other on Brighton's beaches.
Labour is deeply divided. You have the Blairites, the moderates, or for our purposes, the mods. They have been this week stifled, gutted, gagged. They have to be really careful about what they say at conference. And in their place has risen up Jeremy Corbyn and his team. Few would ever have predicted that today, the ultimate political rocker, John McDonnell, would hold centre stage.
We will build you all a decent and secure home in which to live.
This man's speech is probably the most controversial of the week. It's his appointment to the Shadow Chancellor role that meant that many moderates wouldn't serve under Jeremy Corbyn. But even a firebrand's wings can be clipped. This is the kind of speech Ed Miliband's team might have made. Behind the scenes, forces within the Labour Party are moving to constrain Jeremy Corbyn and his leadership.
In the event, John McDonnell's speech appeared designed to show mods that he can be a chancellor for all parts of Labour. Even his old friend noticed the change.
It didn't quite sound like John McDonnell read in tooth and claw.
No, it didn't. That was John having to learn how to use an auto cue. That was John restrained from the man he has been. And that's also John accepting the responsibilities of office. And a man who's going to actually be in office is going to behave differently from a man who's been in opposition perpetually. So I think that's actually a man who's accepting the responsibilities of the role.
Working hard, but
Today, an illustration of two tribes at war. The leader wanted a vote to scrap Trident, but he was stopped by a coalition of opponents led by the unions. Was he being beaten right from the beginning?
On Trident, you've clipped his wings.
Well, I think we'll need to wait and see what happens. But I think we've got a leader and a Chancellor of the Exchequer who is saying, let's not be frightened of our shadows about this stuff. Let's get on and have a debate. Let's not mistake debate for division.
But you're not having a debate. You are, today you were very much frightened of your shadow. You were going to have the debate and you didn't have it.
I don't agree with that. I think, also there's far too much concentration on the minutiae, on the processes and all of that stuff. There's going to be a debate in the Labour Party about all of these issues,
and he's going
including
to lose?
Trident. Well, he's going to have to abide, I think, by the democratic will of the party.
At first glance, inside that building, Jeremy Corbyn is actually quite penned in. The mods within the Labour Party still control its internal structures. So, for instance, Jeremy Corbyn today did want a vote on Trident. He leant on the internal committees. He was told by them that he would be defeated, and so he had to withdraw. On the surface of things, that's the first big defeat for the Labour leader.
Behind the scenes, there's a combative organisation working to thwart Jeremy Corbyn. If the Conference Arrangement Committee doesn't block the Labour leader, then the ruling National Executive Committee will. And if that doesn't work, then the unions will step in. Not just one, but 3 straitjackets for Jeremy Corbyn. The individuals running this counter-Corbyn insurgency believe that in killing the Trident vote, they showed that their defences work.
But Jeremy Corbyn's team might have a wild card. I understand that the people around him are considering moving towards a system of direct plebiscite. So with something like the Trident vote, in the future, they could decide to put it out to a direct vote of the membership. Ignore the party and ignore a conference like that that's going on in there right now. The moderates within Labour know that unless they're very careful, Jeremy Corbyn's lot could end up winning in the end.
Okay, bye. Is this why senior mods are making nice?
What you're doing is that you are allowing him and his authenticity to be at the fore, but are gently making sure the agenda's what you can deal with.
No, I mean, I've got particular views about policy that I will continue to argue for as long as the debate is going on. The winners or losers of the debates on policy are those who persuade the party to go with their view on policy. And we must be ultimately strengthened by showing that we're not fixing policy in a smoke-filled room, but instead fixing it pursuant to an open debate.
Many mods I've spoken to believe they can never get rid of Jeremy Corbyn. His mandate's so large and his supporters so anti-establishment he'd just be re-elected. There's a chance his polling plummets, or that next May's elections are so bad he walks out. But otherwise, all the mods think they can do is try to constrain him. They can't even throw deck chairs at each other.
Allegra Stratton there. Well, it was trailed as the most electric Labour conference for a generation. Is it living up to expectations? John McTernan used to work for Tony Blair, now what is described as a commentator. Zoe Williams writes for The Guardian, and Aisha Hazarika was special advisor to Ed Miliband and to Harriet Harman. Evening to you all. Help us out on this question of whether it's going well for the new Labour establishment, the Corbyn establishment. Zoe?
I think the funny thing is that it makes you realise it's not just about what they say to the crowd, it's about what the crowd bring to them. So McDonnell, if they had been kind of sceptical about him, there would have been things he said that would have sounded too far to the middle for Corbynistas. But because people bring such an expectation of radicalism and such an expectation of difference, he could say what he liked, really, and it kind of played against his supporters.
Mm.
I think people at the conference feel it is going really well. It's a sort of homecoming for Jeremy Corbyn. I think he will get a very good reaction to his speech tomorrow. But the thing to always bear in mind is it's not just enough to have a lovely time in the conference hall and wandering around. It is an important time to try and communicate with people at home and sort of use
Have they been doing that? Because it feels to me John McDonnell is a little bit less radical than he was 6 weeks ago, isn't he? I mean, he's much more reassuring.
And I think there was, I mean, we've had lots of discussions with people about it today, and some people were saying it was interesting that where was the radicalness? It was like the first sort of bit of compromise and sort of sellout in a way. But I think they're cognising about the public and they're trying to create the space to have a debate while still having a nice time at conference.
Yeah. I mean, John, presumably a lot of cognising going on, but not enough, but still too much radicalism for you.
No, it's too much miserabilism for me. You listen to John McDonnell talking about Britain, that's not the Britain that voters recognise. It's his speaker after speaker, I bet we'll see it tomorrow with Jeremy, describing a Britain that's terrible. It's the 5th largest economy in the world, more people in jobs than ever, living standards rising. You cannot communicate with the public if you run down the country and then don't even offer any form of solution. That was his one chance to pitch to the public. I've got no idea what John McDonnell thinks he's doing apart from consulting.
I don't really agree with that, because, you know, actually, listening to a couple of the unionists, it was really interesting. Somebody said, this guy called Lloyd said, the welfare safety net. Safety nets are there for trapeze artists, they're there for risk takers, they're there for massive people who raise the spirits of the entire country. And he completely reframed the conversation around social security that we've been having for the past 7 to 10 years. I mean, it was really hopeful and really delightful and really imaginative. So I was quite impressed by that.
Although in some ways it's gone back to the old devices, which the truth in politics is when you are in a bit of a difficult position, instead of actually sort of saying, right, we're going to come down, you say, we'll have a review, we'll do some consulting, we'll do some debating, we'll have a bit of a, you know, if in doubt, have a review.
Straight talking.
We'll have a review.
That really could be the slogan, not straight talking. Let's have a review. But look, bar the review thing, which is very old style, there is something a bit refreshing about the style here, isn't there? It is just a bit nicer.
What I really like about it is that it is very, very warm, and you really noticed all the way through the leadership campaign that some absolutely vile things were hurled at the Corbyn camp, which he never responded to. He never even dignified them.
To be fair, the Corbyn camp
you mostly.
No, but the Corbyn supporters were hurling some quite vile things back to other people
his supporters
as well.
may have been, but Corbyn absolutely, he was completely, wouldn't be budged on it. He absolutely never responded to people calling him moron or his supporters a moron. He never responded to that, and I really respected it.
This is... The new politics is the old politics done just less competently. Honestly, we were briefed about the Tobin tax into the papers. Fair enough, that's what you do, a drop into the papers. And then I've got no idea from the speech today or from your interview with him whether he really believes in it or not. You've had again Jeremy producing his magic money tree, that you can just produce money out of nothing. The public need to be convinced that Labour can manage the economy. Nothing that was done today by John McDonnell goes anywhere close to that, and that's a fundamental issue.
It's weird that you should say that, because actually John McDonnell didn't mention the People's QE today, and that is what I thought was weird. Now, of course, there is a money tree. It's called the Bank of England. That's how countries make money.
Did you want to hear him say that? Did you feel that he slightly sold out by not?
It's not that
did you feel like he slightly compromised by not?
It's a weird way to critique him. You're talking about a magic money tree when you're actually not talking about it.
Attacked ordinary people for tax avoidance. You cannot say tax avoidance and tax evasion are the same thing without ordinary people going, I minimise my tax. What do you do?
Aisha, I want you to answer this. At the moment, it feels like we're in a kind of holding pattern, a holding place. They're all getting to know each other, thinking about rules, chucking around a few ideas, but still not actually deciding what the policy is going to be. Now, how long can this bedding in period, in which we don't know what the rules of engagement for the shadow cabinet are, and we don't know what the policies are, how long can that carry on before there has to be a bit of...
I don't think it can carry on for too much longer. At the moment, so the phrase that everyone uses, so I've spoken to lots of shadow cabinet people and colleagues from ABHQ, everything is very fluid at the moment. That is the sort of expression that's being used. But I think actually the reality is once we get past the sort of, we're in an extended honeymoon period, and he's had this fabulous victory and huge mandate from the party, so we are in this holding pattern. I suspect when we get back in the autumn, after the conference season, when we're into the hard yards of parliamentary business, difficult votes, the business of Parliament, I think that's when actually exactly lots of things coming.
You think that's soon? Yeah, I was thinking like spring. I think that's. Whoa, that's not long.
I think they themselves will crave a bit of discipline and want to have a bit more discipline, actually.
Because the funny thing is that the phrase I keep hearing is we're in our listening phase, and obviously that's incredibly boring for us as journalists. We're like, oh God, preserve me from a government or an opposition in their listening phase. But actually, a listening phase can go on for quite a long time. If you think about the Miliband opposition, they didn't actually nail down what they wanted to do until about 3 months before.
I think in terms of the listening thing, remember, they're not just talking to themselves. Jeremy and John are seeking to win power. They're not individuals anymore. The party, the members and people who want to support the Labour Party want them to be an effective opposition. They will want to see some discipline. They'll want to see a proper sort of opposing machine.
Go on, John.
And that does take some discipline.
If Jeremy and John McDonnell do any listening to voters, they'll come back talking about immigration, welfare and the economy and borrowing. And I don't think we're seeing listening, we're seeing people talking to the party. And in the end, the public need to be talked to themselves.
Have you had any change of view at all? I mean,
in 20 years?
No. Have you any change? Has anything happened since Corbyn won that has changed your mind a bit, a smidgen? No.
No. all we've seen is conflict deferred, and it's not been deferred because there wants to be a settlement in the party. It's been deferred.
Conflict deferred does seem to be.
I absolutely reject that analysis. I think the point is when everybody's only talking about immigration, wanting low taxes, wanting to destroy the welfare state, then people get the impression that's what the public want to talk about. But actually, the fact of Jeremy Corbyn's mandate should alert you to the point that some people are talking about other things.
Zoe, Aisha, John McTernan, thanks all.
I've been getting